You throw another moon at me, and I'm gonna lose it.
Stark.
You know me?
I do. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
My only curse is you.
All that for a drop of blood. You have my respect, Stark. When I'm done, half of humanity will still be alive. I hope they remember you.
Stop. Spare his life, and I will give you the stone.
No tricks.
Don't.
One to go.
Where is he? Did we just lose? Why would you do that? We're in the end game now.
Welcome to Mr. Screen. During the Iron Man comics, several crazy things have happened, including Tony Stark having used several armors that are more powerful than conventional ones. One of these is his most powerful armor, the superior iron armor. Now I'm going to tell you the story in which it will help the Avengers stop Doomsday, or at least try. Without further ado, let's get straight to the point. The superior armor, a warning from the future. In the silence of the Stark Tower facilities, Tony Stark sat in his chair, his fingers crossed on the table as his eyes fixed on the screen in front of him. There was a palpable tension in the air, something that had been bothering him since the last meeting with the Avengers. The threat of Thanos still loomed over them, more imminent than ever. The Mad Titan had been a destructive force, and his search for the Infinity Stone seemed inevitable. The last time they faced each other, Tony had almost lost everything, and he knew that the next time the battle could be fatal. The ground beneath his feet shook slightly, and a red light illuminated the center of the room. Before he could move, a hologram appeared before him, projected by one of the advanced technologies he himself had created. But it wasn't just any hologram. It was Tony Stark, but an older version. The image had a somber tone, and the look on the hologram's face was one of pure urgency. Tony, the hologram's voice, spoke with a gravity Tony had never heard in his own voice. If you're seeing this, it means you survived. Or maybe that you don't have much time left. Tony narrowed his eyes, confused and wary. The image continued as he processed what he was seeing. No matter what happens, you need to understand something. If you are killed by Thanos, your body will be possessed by an entity. That entity will become Dr. Doom. Tony stood frozen, his eyes fixed on the hologram, unsure of what to think. He had heard stories about the manipulation of reality and the consequences of what could happen to him if things went wrong. But this was a new threat. I know you won't understand now, but I'll tell you what happened. I'm you, but not the you of now. I'm Tony Stark from an alternate future, a future where Thanos finally defeated the Avengers. He killed you, and your body, Tony Stark's body, became the vessel for an ancient cosmic force, the power of Dr. Doom. Tony felt a growing pressure in his head. He knew that the journey he and the other heroes were on was risky, but he didn't know it would reach such a desperate point. Thanos won, and after killing you, he tried to use your body as a weapon, but he didn't calculate the effect it would have. Doom's power, mixed with Tony Stark's intelligence, destroyed Thanos himself. But that didn't bring peace. His new form, a fusion between Doom's chaos and Stark's genius, was the greatest threat the multiverse had ever seen. Tony stood up from his chair, his heart racing. He wanted to believe that this was all some kind of simulation or error in the system. But the hologram's seriousness, the coldness of his own image, made it all seem real. What you need to do, the hologram continued, is to wear the superior armor, the strongest of all. This armor was designed not only to increase your physical abilities, but to protect you from being corrupted by Doom. The superior armor is the only way to prevent the transformation. The hologram's image flickered, and the room around Tony seemed to darken for a moment. The hologram moved closer, more urgent now. Tony, the superior armor is not just a physical suit of armor. It contains a defense system that can stabilize your mind and prevent you from merging with Doom. You must use it before Thanos kills you. And if necessary, you will have to fight Doom himself to prevent your future self from becoming a reality. The hologram of Tony Stark disappeared with a snap, and for a moment there was absolute silence. The superior armor, the power, and the price. Tony Stark was alone in the room, but the sense of despair he felt seemed overwhelming. He had faced powerful enemies before, but he never imagined that his greatest enemy would be himself. His own death, his transformation into something far worse than Thanos, as a monster controlling humanity. He could barely understand it. But what worried him the most was the armor he had mentioned. The superior armor. He knew there was nothing more advanced than his own technology, but what he didn't know was how far he would have to go to use the armor the hologram described. The superior armor wasn't just a combat suit. It was the key to keeping his essence from being consumed. With time running out, he went to his lab. There, in the room where he had designed his best inventions, he found what appeared to be an incomplete version of the armor the hologram had described. It was made of an unusual metal, which shone with a reflective silver tone, as if it were adapting to his presence. Tony studied the armor for a few minutes, feeling the pressure of the future that was about to come to fruition. He couldn't fail. He couldn't let Doom's version of himself take his place. He couldn't be the villain. "Let's do this," Tony muttered to himself, starting to gear up. The armor connected to him, and a feeling of power took over his body. The superior armor wasn't just physical. It was as if his very mind was being connected to a hyper-advanced defense system, designed to shield his emotions and thoughts from Doom's control. He felt a jolt of electricity, but it soon turned into a feeling of absolute control. Every movement, every command he now had complete control over. But as the suit engulfed him, something else began to happen. Visions of his own death began to form in his mind. Images of Thanos, his hand outstretched, crushing the life out of Tony. He saw his future self corrupted, wearing Doom's mask. His body transformed into something monstrous and soulless. The vision grew more and more vivid, as if he were being dragged towards his own destruction. The arrival of Thanos, it was only a matter of time before Thanos arrived. Tony knew it. He had no time to hesitate. He activated the communication systems, trying to make contact with the Avengers, but the threat was imminent. The Mad Titan was coming, and his final move could be fatal. "Tony Stark, you have nowhere to hide," Thanos' voice boomed from a speaker in the control room. "The end of your timeline is now." Tony turned to see the hulking figure of Thanos, who had emerged through a dimensional portal. The battle was about to begin. "If you kill me, Thanos, you will unleash something even worse," Tony said, his voice colder and more controlled than ever. "And you don't want to see what I will become." Thanos grinned, his cruel smile filling the entire room. "I have seen enough, Stark. Your end is near." The battle between the two began immediately. Tony's superior armor glowed with increasing intensity as he used his enhanced abilities to rain blows on Thanos. But the Mad Titan's raw power was undeniable. Each blow Thanos delivered was a blast of energy that sent Tony's systems shaking. However, something was changing. With every movement, with every second of the fight, Tony began to realize that the armor was actually working. His emotions were being controlled, his mind protected. He was not getting lost in the chaos of the battle, and this allowed him to stay focused. Thanos tried again using the Infinity Stones, but Tony used the armor to create an energy barrier that stopped the devastating attack. He knew he could not let Thanos win, but he also knew that time was against him. The fate of man and the threat of doom in the middle of the battle, a new revelation dawned on Tony's mind. He remembered what his future self had told him. The real threat was not just Thanos, but what would happen if he were defeated, what he would become. His mind needed to be alert at all times to prevent that from happening. He had to defeat Thanos and, at the same time, prevent Doom from taking control. The fight was reaching its climax, and Tony knew he had a difficult choice ahead of him. But one thing was certain, he would do whatever it took to stop his destiny from coming true. The superior armor, the final challenge. The battle between Tony Stark and Thanos had reached its climax. The air was thick with the energy released, and the sound of explosions and collisions reverberated through the control room as the Mad Titan and the Armor Genius faced each other with everything they had. The power of the Infinity Stones in Thanos' hands was devastating, but the superior armor, created by Tony Stark to resist his own transformation, was proving even more effective than he had imagined. Each blow from Thanos made the ground tremble, but Tony, with his technical skill and now with the amplified power of his new armor, was able to dodge and respond with rapid attacks, almost like a deadly dance. The armor had such vast power that its systems seemed to predict Thanos' movements, allowing Tony to anticipate attacks and defend himself with supernatural precision. However, the Titan's immense strength was undeniable. Thanos tried to crush him with a devastating punch, but Tony, with a swift movement, dodged it, jumping high into the air. In a split second, he calculated the best opportunity to act. With a quick movement of his hands, the superior armor systems began to release a series of directed energy beams, creating a momentary distraction. Taking advantage of the gap, Tony activated his armor's infiltration system, infiltrating Thanos' guard. Using an advanced magnetic field, he ripped the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos' hands. An audacious and risky feat, the gems glowed brightly, as if sensing the threat of a new wielder. Thanos growled, furious at the move. He tried to react, but Tony, now with the Infinity Gauntlet in his possession, used the energy of his armor to control the gems. The power was in Stark's hands, and he knew that victory was within his grasp. With a swift movement, he used the power of the Infinity Stones to neutralize Thanos' threat, creating a wave of cosmic energy that engulfed the Titan. Thanos fell, defeated, his form torn apart by the energy of the stones, which quickly disintegrated in space. For a moment, Tony stood still, breathing heavily inside his armor. He stared at the Infinity Stones, now in his possession, and felt the cosmic energy pulsing in his hands. He was victorious. Thanos, the greatest enemy in the galaxy, had been defeated. "Ah, I did it," Tony murmured, with a sigh of relief. He looked out into the void, expecting to see his friends, the Avengers, arriving to celebrate his victory. But instead, a heavy silence filled the room. He felt something strange, as if victory was a bittersweet prize. Something that wasn't right. The inevitable, Doom's arrival. Before Tony could process the magnitude of what had just happened, the air around him distorted. A wave of dense, black energy filled the room. Tony felt a familiar yet disturbing presence, as if space-time itself were being warped. He turned quickly, alerted by the change in his surroundings. And that was when he saw it. A figure appeared before him, his dark, imposing silhouette illuminated by cosmic lightning. The man was dressed in distinctive armor, but something was off. He looked familiar. Very familiar. The face covered by a metallic helmet, the cape flowing. It was Dr. Doom, but not the Doom that Tony knew. It was a version of Tony Stark, but his expression was one of pure sovereignty, as if he had been corrupted by something much greater. Doom's armor was now fused with Stark's intellect, a fusion so powerful that even the energies of the Infinity Stone seemed minuscule in comparison. Tony remained silent, his eyes fixed on the approaching figure with implacable calm. He knew what was happening. It was him. It was himself. The Tony Stark of another timeline, but now possessed by the power of Doom. You thought you would win, didn't you? Doom's voice rang out, his voice cold, but the familiarity of his words made it clear that he spoke as if he were, in fact, Stark himself. You and your heroes, thinking you could defy inevitability. This is already beyond any control. The future is mine, Tony. Tony felt a knot form in his stomach. He had defeated Thanos, he had the Infinity Stones in his hands, but the greatest enemy, the threat he had ever imagined, was himself. He knew that this version of himself, dominated by the essence of Dr. Doom, had unimaginable power. The Dr. Doom of his own timeline, but with advantage of being a version amplified by his own intellect and the cosmic energy of the stones. The new Doom Stark stepped forward, energy bolts exploding around him. His armor glowed metallic, mixed with an energy of pure destruction. He didn't look human. He looked like something else. Something darker. I've already defeated your timeline, and now I'm going to do the same to this one. What you don't understand, Stark, is that what's happening here is inevitable. Doom cannot be stopped. Not by you. Not by anyone. Tony tried to get back up, focusing on the Infinity Gauntlet, trying to use the power of the stones once more to stop this version of himself. But the new Doom Stark raised his hand, and with a simple gesture, the power of the stones was neutralized. He now had absolute control over what Tony had once dominated. Dr. Doom looked at Tony with a sadistic smile. You are weak, Tony. What is your intellect without the strength of Doom? I am the perfect fusion of human genius and divine power. You gave me the path, and now, I am what you have always feared. Tony felt the weight of reality sink in. He had not only lost the battle against Thanos, he had lost something even more precious. He had lost his identity. His very essence was now corrupted. He knew that this new Doom, formed by his own death and corruption, could destroy not only Earth, but the very fabric of reality. Dr. Doom, now more powerful than any version of Tony Stark, began to approach. The fight seemed futile. Every move Tony made, every action he took was met with insurmountable power. He felt the imminent defeat, but he also knew that he could not give in. Tony did not want to believe that all was lost, but this version of himself was unbeatable. And deep down, he knew that Doom was right. The future, reality, everything he had tried to preserve, was about to be destroyed by the very hand that had created it. But even in the face of this inevitability, one last hope arose in Tony's mind. He still had the Infinity Stones. If it was the last sacrifice he would have to make, he would fight until the end. Even if, in the end, that meant facing the end itself. To be continued. And that was our story for today. Don't forget to leave a comment with your opinion, click the like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. I'm Mr. Screen and see you soon.